There's something about this moment that just feels like destiny, divine feminine. Like you've been waiting lifetimes for everything to align, not just in the physical, but in the unseen too. And maybe you couldn't explain it before, but deep down, you always knew this was bigger than you, bigger than them. Something spiritual was happening behind the silence. What you're about to experience with your person isn't random. It's what your soul already signed up for. They're not the same version of themselves anymore. And honestly, neither are you. You're both remembering the truth of this bond, and it's finally time to watch that divine plan unfold. Hello, soul family. Welcome to Spiritual Manifestation. If this is your first time, welcome. If not, I'm glad to have you home. I just want to take a moment to say how grateful I am that you're here, because the energy that's already coming through feels powerful. And I can tell this message is meant for someone who truly needs it today. Before we dive in, a quick reminder. If you feel called to go deeper, the extended readings and extra guidance are always available on Patreon and through YouTube memberships. That's where we get into the longer, more personal layers of these messages, and it's a beautiful space to connect on a deeper level. And while you're here, don't forget to support the channel by liking this video, leaving a comment below, and sharing this reading with someone who may need to hear it. Your energy in this community makes such a difference, and I love reading your thoughts and reflections. Now let's go ahead and shuffle the deck together. Spirit, we ask you to guide us in this moment, to bring through the clearest and most aligned messages for those listening. As I set the energy for this reading, I can already feel the cards beginning to stir, and I know something important is ready to come through. Divine Feminine. The first card we pulled for you is the Page of Cups. And let me tell you, the energy around this is tender, surprising, and deeply emotional. There's something about this message that feels like it's coming straight from your person's subconscious, almost like a ripple from their inner world is reaching yours. Lately, they've been having dreams about you, dreams they can't explain, and honestly, dreams they've been afraid to share with anyone, including themselves. But it's not just the fact that you showed up in these dreams. It's the way your presence affected them. It wasn't ordinary. It wasn't forgettable. It stirred something so deep inside them that it's left them quietly shaken. These aren't just any dreams, Divine Feminine. They feel sacred, symbolic, and honestly, divinely sent. Your person doesn't know how to categorize them, and that's why they're labeling them as weird. But the truth is, these dreams are unsettling because they feel too real, too emotional, too vivid to just brush off. In them, you weren't just a passerby. You were the central figure, and your presence carried a kind of weight, the kind that lingers in someone's chest long after waking. That's why they're pacing internally. That's why they're sitting with this dream like it's a puzzle they've never solved before. It's not something they can shake off. And you might be feeling them right now, Divine Feminine, even if you're miles apart. That lingering sensation you've had, the one where you feel like someone is thinking about you or reaching for you energetically, you're not imagining it. It's their higher self brushing up against yours, trying to make sense of what they were shown. But because they're still wrestling with how to handle this in the physical, there's a strong push-pull dynamic showing up in their energy. They want to step forward, they want to talk about it. But the vulnerability of opening up that way is overwhelming for them right now, especially when they don't fully understand the message themselves. What's really standing out here is the emotional impact these dreams have had. This wasn't just a fleeting night vision. This is something that has stayed with them for days, possibly weeks or even months. They keep going back to it, replaying it, asking themselves what it means and why it felt so important. This might not be the first time they've dreamt about you, but it's absolutely the first time it's made them pause and reflect this deeply. And when we look at this from a spiritual lens, dreams like these don't just happen. They're meant to disrupt the mind so the soul can start asking better questions. They're meant to awaken something. So even if your person hasn't reached out yet, Divine Feminine, their spirit is moving toward you. Their heart is stirring in ways they can't fully explain. This dream unlocked a door that had been shut inside them for a long time, a door to their emotions, their vulnerability, and most importantly, their connection to you. And because of that, something is shifting. Something is stirring that wasn't quite ready before. Their soul is starting to remember you, not just as a person, but as someone who touches a part of them that most people never get to see. And that's not something they can unsee or unfeel anymore. This is the beginning of something very real, even if it doesn't make sense yet in the 3D. So if you've been feeling this strange mix of stillness and emotional intensity around you, it's because this moment marks a spiritual reawakening. And as their higher self grows louder, more of their physical self will begin to catch up. Be gentle with your heart right now, Divine Feminine, because whether you realize it or not, your energy, your essence, has already reached them in places no words ever could. Divine Feminine, as I pull this card, the Hanged Man reveals itself, and the energy here couldn't be more aligned. It's like the entire reading paused just to breathe in this exact moment. What's coming through is this sense of complete suspension, like time has folded in on itself. Your person is stuck in a place between waking and dreaming, between knowing and resisting, between logic and soul truth. And the wildest part? Your energy, has been the quiet force behind this internal pause. Because you've always held space without forcing clarity, without rushing the timing, and your stillness has shaken something loose in them that they weren't ready to see. And here's where it gets even more powerful, Divine Feminine. What they saw in that dream wasn't just random. Your eyes opened something in them that can't be unseen. For the longest time, they thought they were the ones observing you, studying you, wondering about you. But in that dream, it became clear that you were the mirror, not the mystery. Your gaze pierced right through the illusions they had built around love, connection, and even identity. And that's terrifying for someone who has spent most of their life controlling what they feel by avoiding anything that might truly move them. This card is showing me that your person's entire emotional system is being rewired from that one interaction. It wasn't just the sight of you. It was what your presence pulled out of them. Maybe it was the way you looked at them without fear, or the way your energy felt so familiar that it collapsed all the walls they had built just to feel safe. And now they're spiraling, not because they're trying to run, but because something deeper is pulling them toward surrender. That dream didn't end when they woke up. It stayed with them. It's following them into the silence, into the spaces where they used to find comfort in distractions. But now, all they feel is the echo of your truth. Divine Feminine, your person is in deep retreat. Not to hide from you, but because they can't unfeel what your soul just showed them. The hanged man shows up when spirit refuses to let someone walk away from the lesson they were born to remember. And that's exactly what's happening now. Your masculine is being asked to sit in this discomfort, to stop moving, to stop explaining everything away with logic. Because this isn't something they can rationalize. This is something their soul has to feel its way through. And your soul is guiding that process without even needing to speak a word. And that's what makes this moment so incredibly sacred. You're not chasing, you're not pleading, you're not trying to make sense of anything. You're simply being. And in your being, you're awakening them to a part of themselves that has been asleep for a long, long time. This connection was never just about chemistry or timing. It's about remembrance. And now that they've tasted that truth in the dream realm, the 3D can't hold them the same way it used to. Their eyes are opening, and it started with yours. So if you've been wondering why you feel their energy more strongly now, or why you keep seeing them in your dreams too, it's because this connection has reached a point where it cannot be buried or bypassed anymore. Your higher selves are already in union. The soul work has already begun. And your masculine, they are awakening to that fact. One dream at a time, one breath at a time, one sacred pause at a time. Divine Feminine, the card that just came flying out for this moment is the Tower, and honestly, it's the only card that could hold the weight of this energy. What your person is going through right now isn't just an awakening, it's a crumbling, a shattering of illusions, a collapse of timelines they once felt so sure about. You've felt it too, haven't you? That invisible shake in your core, like something cracked open behind the scenes, and now everything is shifting in ways you can't quite explain. That's because a veil has truly lifted between you and this person, and now both of you are standing in the rubble of what used to be, trying to make sense of what's left and what's real. The message coming through is intense because this wasn't just a dream or even a spiritual message. It was a soul-level reminder. It was like spirit grabbed your person by the shoulders and whispered, "Look, remember." And in that moment, they didn't just see your face, they saw your purpose. They felt the truth of your connection in a way that bypassed logic and landed straight in their body. It was overwhelming. It shook them. And it's still shaking them now, because the truth doesn't let you rest once you've seen it. Especially not this kind of truth. The kind that changes the way you breathe, the way you move, the way you love. What's wild is that this shakeup didn't come out of nowhere. You and this person have always had a soul contract that required a major shift, something big, to crack open the door to union. And that's what the Tower represents. This wasn't a punishment. This was a divine setup. Something had to fall apart in their life before they could even begin to see you clearly. before they could access the part of themselves that recognizes you in all timelines, not just the 3D. And I'm being shown so clearly that this person went through something in their world, whether recently or quietly in the background, that completely unglued the version of themselves that used to run away from love, that used to choose comfort over truth, that used to pretend they didn't feel the pull toward you, even when it was unmistakable. Divine Feminine, this card holds a frequency of sacred chaos, and you've likely felt that too, especially if you've been extra sensitive, extra emotional, or randomly pulled into moments of deep clarity that leave you breathless. That's your higher self aligning with their higher self. That's the two of you meeting in the middle, beyond time, beyond form. And the reason this is hitting so hard right now is because there was always a promise tied to your pain. A promise that after the storm, you wouldn't just reunite. You would recognize each other for who you truly are. And even though this process hasn't been easy, you've both been prepared for this moment, not through words, but through fire. And here's something else that Spirit is saying loud and clear. This connection is about to come back around, but not in the way you once knew it. You're not meeting the same version of them, and they're not returning to the same version of you. This next chapter will require presence, not perfection. Surrender, not strategy. Because the veil is gone now, and in its place is truth. Not the kind you try to explain, but the kind you feel so deeply, it rewrites everything you thought you understood about love. What's rising from these ashes isn't just a new chapter, it's a new frequency, one that can't be built on pretense, ego, or fear. Your masculine is being stripped of every layer that once made him believe he had to earn love through achievement or avoid pain through distance. And that stripping, it's sacred. It's Spirit's way of saying, start again, but this time, build with your heart. And you, Divine Feminine, are the reason his heart is waking up. Not because you demanded it, but because your soul held the vibration of truth long enough for his soul to remember it. And I know you felt tired at times, like maybe you were holding on to something only you could feel. But this tower moment is the confirmation that your intuition was always right. That even in the quiet, even in the separation, even in the moments where it looked like he chose everything but you, there was something deeper unfolding. Something that needed time, tension, and even destruction to reveal its true form. You weren't just waiting, you were aligning, preparing, becoming the version of you who could hold a love this sacred without shrinking, chasing, or settling. And now that you've arrived in that space, the masculine is being called to rise too. So let this be your reminder, Divine Feminine. You didn't break this connection. Spirit broke open what was never real to begin with. The old paradigms, the outdated beliefs, the false timelines that kept you both playing small. All of it had to fall away so the truth could rise. And that truth is love. A love that doesn't need to be chased. A love that knows your worth. A love that's been burning beneath the rubble, just waiting for you both to remember that this was never about the fall. It was always about who you become when you rise. So if you felt the energy building, if your soul has been whispering that something is coming, you're not imagining it. The tower has fallen, the illusion has crumbled, And what's left is something so raw, so real, that only your soul could have called it in. You're not waiting anymore. You're remembering, and so are they. Before we pull the next card, I just want to pause for a moment and check in with you. How has this been resonating with you so far? If something in these first 3 cards has already spoken to your heart, let me know in the comments. I love reading how these messages meet you right where you are. All right, let's go ahead and see what Spirit has for us as we pull the next card. Divine Feminine, the card that just revealed itself, is the High Priestess, and this is no accident. This energy is speaking directly to your soul because you've always known. From the very beginning, even before things made sense on the surface, your spirit held a knowing that this connection would require sacrifice. You might not have understood what that meant at the time, but your higher self did. She knew that aligning with this masculine would cost you comfort, illusions, and even certain relationships you once clung to. And yet, you still said yes. You said yes to truth, yes to integrity, yes to a love that wouldn't allow you to hide behind lies, even the ones we whisper to ourselves when we're scared to lose someone. This message is piercing through the layers now, and Spirit is saying that honesty has always been the cornerstone of your journey. Not just honesty in the words you speak, but the honesty of presence, of owning who you are, of admitting what you desire, what you need, and what you refuse to accept any longer. That's why the energy of the High Priestess is here, because you didn't just wake up one day and become this version of you. You chose her. You surrendered to the path of deeper knowing, even when it meant walking alone, even when it meant tearing down every false connection that couldn't meet you at your level of truth. And now, here you are, still standing, still soft, but so much stronger in your boundaries. You see, this wasn't just about spiritual growth. This was a sacred agreement between you and your soul, one that required you to step into full alignment before love could meet you there. Because in this lifetime, Divine Feminine, your love life was never meant to look like everyone else's. You were never meant to shrink just to feel seen. And your connection to this masculine? It was designed to activate your voice, to awaken your truth, to teach you how to stop begging to be chosen and start choosing yourself. The weight of this contract goes deep. That's why Spirit keeps bringing up your throat chakra, because for too long, you were silent about what you truly wanted. Maybe not with your words, but with your energy. You tolerated half-truths. You held space for people who never held space for you. But when you came into full agreement with your higher self, that silence broke. And when it did, your whole foundation shook. Jobs shifted. Friendships ended. Old versions of you had to fall away. And even though it hurt, you knew. You knew it was the only way forward. And maybe that's the most powerful shift of all. He's not trying to own your energy anymore. He's trying to honor it. The King of Pentacles doesn't pursue from a place of lack or desire to conquer. He moves when he knows he has something solid to offer. And that's what you've always deserved. Not someone who comes in quickly just to fill a void, but someone who arrives grounded, stable in his identity, clear on his values, and capable of holding space for the kind of love that builds legacies. And Divine Feminine, you are that legacy. You are the root system that calls him home, not through pressure, but through presence. This energy is also showing that your masculine has started to understand the cost of avoidance. That every time he turned away from this connection, he was also turning away from himself. And now he's finally sitting with the weight of that truth, not to punish himself, but to rebuild from it. He's realizing that love without integrity isn't love, it's a performance. And the version of him that's emerging now isn't just seeking connection, he's seeking redemption. Not for the sake of being chosen, but for the chance to choose you from a healed and conscious place. So if you've felt a softening in your heart lately, a loosening of resentment, a quiet sense of readiness, it's because this version of him is approaching. And this time, he's not coming to consume your light. He's coming to reflect it, to co-stabilize with you, to invest not just in a connection, but in a future where your love isn't hidden, doubted, or sacrificed. And whether you choose to meet him there or simply receive this reflection as confirmation of your growth, know this: your energetic boundary worked. Your healing activated something in him that no amount of chasing ever could. And now the king is choosing his throne with honor, with clarity, and with you in mind. So now, when you feel that pull towards something greater, when you sense that your love life is being rewritten from the inside out, it's because your soul asked for this. Not just any union, not just any masculine, but one who could match your truth, one who could hold the weight of your voice without flinching, one who could meet you on sacred ground and not ask you to dim your light just to be loved. And if it feels like you're still in the middle of that rebuild, if your world is still a little unsteady, it's okay. You're not late. You're not lost. You're right on time for the kind of love that doesn't need to be chased, forced, or fixed. You're aligning with something honest. And because of that, what's meant for you is not only coming, it's coming in full truth, just like you always asked for. Divine Feminine, the card that just came through, is the King of Pentacles. And this couldn't be more aligned with the energy we're tapping into right now. This is someone who has been deeply rooted in the material, in the external, and in what can be measured, controlled, or achieved. And that's exactly where your masculine began their journey, anchored in the physical realm, focused on appearances, chasing things that fed the ego but left the soul starving. But something has shifted. And this card is confirmation that your masculine is no longer approaching this connection from that same space of shallow validation or external influence. The message here is so clear. Your masculine is no longer willing to leak their life force energy into things that don't serve their evolution. Whether it's people, habits, vices, or mindsets, they are walking away from whatever created distance between their soul and yours. And it's not performative. It's not surface level. This is the kind of transformation that only happens when a person has been cracked open. And from that opening, they begin to rebuild. What's especially powerful about the King of Pentacles is that this isn't just someone with ambition. It's someone who's learning how to be responsible with their power. Your masculine is beginning to understand the sacred weight of their choices. They're seeing how easily they once allowed distractions, temptations, and societal pressures to cloud their vision. And now they're clearing the fog. They're pulling their energy back. They're asking themselves real questions. Questions they once avoided because the answers were too raw, too vulnerable, too revealing of their own misalignment. And divine feminine, this change in them isn't just internal, it's energetic. That's why you may have felt them recently in your dreams, in moments of stillness, or in the silence between thoughts. Because they're not just shifting in the 3D, their energy is starting to touch yours in the higher realms again. And that only happens when someone is in alignment with truth. This card is also Spirit's way of saying you weren't imagining it. The distance, the confusion, the energetic static. It wasn't just in your head. It was real. Your connection was being affected by external energy. But it's also real that this masculine is choosing differently now. You may not see all the evidence yet. You may not get the words of confirmation. But the vibration has changed. And deep down, you can feel it. So what does this mean for you? It means that your own spiritual clarity, your refusal to settle, and your commitment to your inner truth is being reflected back to you. You chose growth, and now the masculine is rising to meet that frequency. He may still be learning, he may still be healing, but for the first time in a long time, his soul is reaching out with grounded intention, not just longing, but preparation. Because the kind of love that you carry, it can't be held by someone who's half present, half invested, or half awake. And Spirit is showing you that this masculine is finally beginning to see that. Not just see it, but feel it. And that changes everything. Divine Feminine, the card that just came through, is the Judgment. And this message, it feels like a homecoming. Not a return to the past, but a return to truth. Your truth. This card comes when something that's been hidden in shadow is finally brought into light, not for punishment, but for purpose. And in this connection, that purpose is you, your journey, your sacred role in this soul contract. For a long time, you've carried the weight of what was unspoken, the silence, the misalignment, the confusing ways your masculine showed up and didn't. But what you didn't always see was that while things felt still on the outside, something powerful was unfolding beneath the surface. The higher version of your person has been working behind the veil, making their way back to your frequency. Not through words or performance, but through a quiet spiritual awakening that began when they started listening. Not to the noise of the world, but to the pull of your soul. This connection has never just been about romance. It's always been about remembrance. And now your masculine is remembering not only who you are to them, but who they agreed to become when they chose you. Because yes, Divine Feminine, this was always a choice. You didn't happen to them. You didn't wander into their life by accident. On a soul level, they asked for this experience. They called you in. And even if their human self didn't know how to receive it at the time, something in them knew what you would awaken. What's so clear now is that the person you are about to encounter is not the person you met in the beginning. That version of them was still deep in the illusion, wrapped up in consumption, ego, and external validation. But now they've been cracked open. Something shook their foundation. Maybe a loss, maybe a realization, maybe a slow, burning ache that wouldn't let them escape the truth anymore. Whatever it was, it brought them to their knees in the best way. Because that's where surrender happens. That's where the veil lifts. That's where they see you for who you've always been. And here's what's beautiful, divine feminine. You never stopped leading, even when it hurt, even when you were misunderstood, even when your love was taken for granted. You kept choosing integrity. You kept choosing self-respect. You kept showing up for your own soul, even if it meant letting go of theirs. And that is why the divine is now restoring the balance, because this was never a one-sided story. It just had to play out in perfect timing. This final card is also a reminder that everything you've walked through was part of the plan. The pauses, the detours, the distance, the moments that felt like endings. None of it was wasted. Every piece was a stepping stone to this very point in your journey. And now, the divine order is being restored. The masculine is beginning to trust you, not just with their heart, but with their healing. And that trust, that's not something you forced. That's something your soul earned. And maybe that's why you've been feeling everything a little more intensely lately. You're not imagining it. The energy between you and this person is no longer subtle. It's alive. And even if there's still silence in the physical, you can feel them reaching for you in ways they never have before. This isn't about fixing the past or rushing toward the future. This is about presence, about your energy finally being met with a reflection that sees you clearly and honors what your soul has endured to get here. What's shifting now is energetic, yes, but it's also personal. And that means you get to be discerning. You get to ask for more. You get to receive in a way that doesn't make you shrink. Because the truth is, divine feminine, your power was never just in your love. It was in your ability to love without abandoning yourself. And now, that lesson has anchored itself into your bones. That version of you who begged for breadcrumbs, who waited on a message just to feel seen, who made yourself small just to keep the peace. She's not leading anymore. You've stepped into your worth with both feet. And now, anyone who wants access to your energy must rise to meet you. That's what this rebirth is really about. That's what judgment is showing you. This isn't just their awakening, it's yours too. So when this connection begins to move again, because it will, trust yourself more than the timing. Feel into the energy more than the words. Let your soul speak louder than your fears. Because this time, you're not stepping into something half-formed or half-healed. You're stepping into something conscious, something mutual, something divine. And it's not happening because you waited. It's happening because you became. You became the version of yourself who doesn't just hope for sacred love, you embody it. So if you feel something shifting in your field, if your dreams are louder, your intuition sharper, your emotions deeper, it's because your person is aligning. They're choosing stillness over stimulation, truth over illusion, soul over surface. And this choice, it changes everything. Not because it guarantees a perfect future, but because it reflects a sacred reunion with what's real. Okay, this feels like a beautiful place to close the reading. What we've seen here is a reminder that your energy is powerful, your journey is guided, and spirit is always working in ways you may not fully see yet. Trust that what is meant for you will always find its way, and you don't need to chase. Just allow yourself to stay aligned and open. If you feel called to dive deeper, The exclusive and extended version of our readings are available right now on Patreon and through YouTube memberships. That's where we really expand on these messages and explore the layers that spirit couldn't fit into this space. Also, don't forget to check out the community posts and today's energy reading updates. I love connecting with you there and hearing how these messages meet you in your own journey. Drop your comments below, share your personal requests, and let me know how this reading spoke to you. And if you'd like to keep the energy flowing, I've linked some other videos here that I know will guide and encourage you. I'll see you in the next reading. Bye for now.